Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the 7th edition Call of Cthulhu tabletop role-playing game rules by Chaos. This actual play is performed by adults and in an adult setting. While we try very hard to stick to language for all ages, listeners should know that this podcast may include mature themes. All content, including names, places, events, companies, and etc., that may bear resemblance to entities living or dead, is strictly coincidental. My name is Michael Diamond, and for tonight's game, I will be your keeper. Thank you for joining us again in another episode of the Old Ways podcast. I am your keeper, Michael, and we return to England for another episode in our Masks of Nyarlathotep campaign. I have my investigators gathered for this evening, and so our brief introductions will start to my right.
This is Lonnie. I'm playing Lawrence Edward Oliver Forsyth, and we're going to have a night of culture.
Culture, sure. That seems like a wonderful reasoning for it. So at the end of the table.
This is Tiffany, and I play Meave O'Shea, and more books.
More books, indeed. And you are playing out of position, obviously, but the end of the table is nice and comfy, and enough spot for all of your books to hang out.
Mm-hmm.
And last but most certainly not least.
This is Alex. We're playing Simone Granger, and I am taking inventory.
Oh, okay. So we raise the curtain tonight outside the Petrie Museum, just down the street from one of London's larger university complexes. And so at the appropriate hour, one which was considered last episode to be around about 11 o'clock, it was determined that Mr. Forsyth would be meeting Mr. Granger for some evening cultural enhancements. What I'd like to get an idea of, if I could, first from Mr. Forsyth and then eventually from Simone, is what particulars are you going to be bringing with you on your cultural expedition?
When we left the tea house, it occurred to me about, say, 3 in the afternoon, 4 in the afternoon, that it would probably be best for me to prepare a bit before I get ready to go. And so I would have liked to have stopped and bought myself a tool bag.
That's
because
fair.
I probably didn't carry one with me in my luggage.
Yeah, easy to get, honestly.
While I'm at it, the hotel has a workman's entrance, correct?
It does have a service entrance, mostly for staff, but yes.
Yes. Okay. So prior to leaving, a decent amount of food. Into the tool bag goes my crowbar, a pair of electrician's gloves. Field glasses go in my pocket. I'll be wearing my work clothes rather than the suit I normally wear. Brass knuckles in the one pocket, 38 in the inside pocket of my jacket, and a pocket knife in my pocket, of course. And with those, I will dress like I was going out onto construction area, and I will head out the service entrance.
Alrighty.
And when I head out the service entrance, I'd like to take a look to see if any of my trained compatriots have followed me.
Absolutely. Go ahead and roll me a spot hidden.
That's an extreme success, 10 under 57.
We are off and running on an extreme success already. So it does not appear that any of those ne'er-do-wells from the train have made it here at this point.
Okay. Then I will proceed on my way.
All right. So, Simone, when you set out the kit for this evening, what comes to mind?
Well, I'm not necessarily looking to cause too much, of a ruckus. So I'll be wearing just kind of my dark clothes, my tool belt, stocked with some additional knickknacks, a few flares, the hand drill, some extra space for my torch. I'll probably be carrying my messenger bag as well, inside with my binoculars and my other tools that aren't on the belt. So something like crowbar sized, handsaw sized. Because I'm not necessarily sure what I may have to open. So I'm just kind of covering my bases.
Sure.
And I mean, the watchmakers, screwdrivers, like my lockpicks, what have you.
Everything a growing boy needs.
I am, however, concerned for horse-size safety. So if we do get into a kerfuffle, I am going to bring one of the sawed-offs holstered under the overcoat.
All right. So for the balance of the time between the late afternoon to evening, Mr. Forsyth, you're making your way towards the museum, and then did the two of you come to an approximation point where you would meet?
No, I just told him to be in the neighborhood. I was basically going to keep a lookout for him in case.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Lawrence, if you're making your way to the museum later that night, the roads are fairly open. They're not by any means busy, for that matter, at that hour. And you do know that there are multiple shifts of workers that work around the London area. So given your work clothes, given your tool bag, you fit right in. He's fairly easy to spot in that regard, though, because you are looking for him, Simone.
Sure.
So as he nears the museum, maybe a block or so away, you pick him up visually.
Okay. I'll definitely get within earshot, maybe like across the street, and I'll peep.
It's pretty easy to pick out, Lawrence.
Once he sees me, I'll look kind of left to right and see if there is a place out of like direct light where we can chat.
Okay.
I'm not really sure how well lit this area is, but if it's like, I'm guessing there's street lamps.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There would be street lamps.
Okay. So if this is like I don't know how big the museum is, but if there's a quarter or a tree or something like that where I can kind of guide him to, like off the sidewalk.
Yeah, you should be able to guide him.
I would say that there would be more than enough recesses, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah, easily.
I see you are just for the occasion.
Man should always dress properly when he's out on the town.
So I have a couple of options to offer you. I wasn't sure whether you look like you may want to get your hands dirty, in which case I am totally on board with that particular idea. But if you were concerned about approaching burial, unwanted, or officials, I don't know if you wanted to look out or enter the premises.
Which one is better for you?
I'll just smile at him. I mean, I am comfortable with either situation. I trust you to watch my back, and I would hope that you would trust me to watch yours if we were inside. I know that you are quite apt with your hands.
I've always wanted to get a good look at a museum.
You said there wasn't any... I didn't spot any security, right? Like active security.
No, does not appear to.
Okay, and there's no torches inside windows at the museum. It's just dark.
It appears to be dark, yep.
Okay. Have you built a torch?
I did forget that, didn't I?
I will hand him my other torch.
Okay.
Multiple torches.
Stay low. Follow me. I'm not too concerned about us being spotted, but I kind of want to... I kind of want to give him an idea as to how I would approach this. The route I kind of want to take to get to probably the rear entrance, if that's going to be ideal for me. Like some sort of shipping entrance or drop-off point.
The Petrie Museum is actually kind of interestingly positioned on the streets of London. So you have the University of London that's nearby, and the Petrie Museum kind of butts up against one of the buildings of the university. And so it has a shipping entrance, but to get to it, you would have to pass through the university grounds. Otherwise, the other entrance is the front door, and that's on a side street. So it's not on a main street.
That's not too bad.
No, the entrance to the Petrie Museum isn't on a main street. It's on a side street on the grounds of the college.
Okay. What about window access?
I mean, there's windows on the place, if that's what you're asking.
Sure. I'm just wondering, like, as far as exposure, if there's any even further recessed, I might want to see what those look like if they're accessible from the ground.
Yeah, they're accessible from the ground. It does look like there are bars on them, though.
Yeah, nope. Looks like it's the front door. Stay low. And I will move to the front door.
Okay. So I would only assume at this point, then, the two of you are going to attempt to be, well, inconspicuous. And as such, I think it's right and proper to determine whether or not you're being stealthy enough.
This will be great.
You're only as quiet as your loudest man.
That's very true.
That is a success. 18 under 20.
Success as well, 58 under 75.
So the two of you skulk on up to the building, and to his credit, Lawrence does fairly well. He falls in behind you. He seems to move, maybe not while as skillful as you are, Simone. He's equally as quiet.
He's mindful of his space. I appreciate that. What's up with this door?
So it's a very large double door that makes up the entrance to the Petrie Museum. Two oversized brass handles for the door. Probably has some sort of double locking mechanism. And then there's just the, middle break for the double doors.
I'll kind of look over my shoulder at Forsyth and like put my hand on the door, jiggle it just to see if maybe they left it open.
It's locked.
So is it, I'm not really sure which, is it locksmith or is it mechanical to try to open it using tools and picking?
Oh, it would definitely be locksmith.
Okay. I will set aside the appropriate tools to begin invading this lock.
So you dive into your tool set, and it's pretty hard to mistake a set of lock picks, Lawrence. These are tools you've seen Jack handle a few times.
Knowing about him having Jack's hat and coat, I wonder if they're Jack's tools as well.
That would be a reasonable question. And come to think of it, you haven't seen Mr. Doyle today.
I have not.
I'm feeling lucky.
Are you now?
I am. I'm just going to spend the 12 luck to make that a 62 out of 62.
Okay. Yeah, so...
I don't feel like messing around with this door too much.
Sure. You spend the luck. It takes you a good couple of minutes. Mm-hmm. And you feel a little sweat like bead up at your palm because the lock just doesn't want to get it, we can't get this last tumbler, can't get it. And then a car goes by and you flatten against the door, and Forsyth, you as well, kind of take a bit of cover. And when you get back up to go back at the lock, the tumbler turns and the door can be opened finally.
I'll try to shake it off. Maybe I feel like I'm out of practice.
Yeah, it could be.
So I'll kind of shake my hands and tuck everything away, nod to Forsyth. Does the door open out or in?
Oh, it opens in.
Okay. Then I will slide to the side I'm opening, and I'll keep two eyes past Forsyth and give it a shove.
Yeah, with a reasonable push, the door opens in. The other door seems to hold fast. It's probably locked on the inside to the...
just fine.
One of them opens, and you are in a reasonably wide hallway, so probably about 2 or 3 meters, probably about 3 meters wide. It looks like it goes left and right. There's a ton of visible... You see a door to the right-hand side. Looks like that area opens up maybe into some sort of a counter or receiving area. And then left of you directly...
Jack said the mask was in like the Egyptian exhibit.
Yeah. Left of you directly seems to go deeper into hallways. And then you do see to the left there does seem to be some sort of museum area. You notice it because there's a pedestal relatively close by, and there's a statue on it.
Once Lawrence is inside, I'll shut the door behind him and get a good look at the lock.
I'll
Well
lean
said.
in close and say, what are we looking for?
There is a mask that Jack wishes us to procure in order to perhaps persuade the people at the Penny Foundation with something that they are looking for. I'll take my torch out.
Okay. You're going to flick it on?
Just enough to get a bead on where everything is, and then I'll probably go dark because there's lots of windows in here. I don't really feel like
A fair amount, yeah.
sending a bunch of light outside if it's okay.
You get your light on and take a look, and I'll leave you there for the moment. So that evening, actually that day, for the most part, Miss O'Shea, at the hotel, you spend poring over more notes.
Mm-hmm.
You have a really good sense at this point, given your father's journal, about what he was working on. But you're kind of at a loss for time, unfortunately, in the sense that there's so many things you could look at. There are so many pathways for you to go down as far as a research angle. Why don't you give me an idea of specifically what you're going to stake the day on? What's going to be the main course for you?
First, I'm going to try and figure out if there was a trick to Peter's ledger that we picked up.
Okay.
Remember how I told you?
You're going to read between the lines?
Mm-hmm. And then after that, then I'm going to continue to study Swift's journal.
Okay. So why don't you give me a occult roll for Peter's journal? Now, it is a ledger.
And he ripped out pages.
It's more based on finance, but the text you're looking for is much more occult based.
29 out of 83.
Okay, so that's a hard success. It takes you the better part of a couple of hours, but you finally begin to determine what Peter was talking about, or at least you think you do. So in all of these entries, when he is making basically payments towards this estate, what he appears to be doing is taking and making entries in a angelic script. So there are little notations, small notations in these payment areas where he writes a letter here or he writes a letter there. And it's almost like piecing together, for lack of a better term, a big Sudoku puzzle. So you have a page full of these financial entries, and then every so often you're finding these symbols that don't fit. You find the EG notation again. And it again reminds you that, right. So at some point, that house was either in the financial control of Edward Gavigan, or Gavigan was involved with this in some way.
Right, of course. Okay.
But those angelic those angelic language notes, when you piece them together, it talks about something called the Traveler. And so after 2 or 3 hours, you have them all written out. And in between those lines, the lettering gives you a message. And that message is, he has become the Traveler.
Okay. What was the last date that he wrote the last letter for that message?
So it would have been April 1924. So just about 10 months ago.
Okay. So that is about the approximate date that we think the ritual went down, right?
Roughly speaking, yes.
Okay.
It also lines up, again, roughly with what you were thinking the accident happened about a year previously. So, yeah, that seems to line up.
Okay.
It's possible, too, that there were more entries of this text, but
Got ripped
the pages have been ripped out, and, well, quite frankly, they're burned by now.
So have I seen, you said there were symbols that didn't fit. Have I seen symbols like that before?
No. You haven't happened upon these before. I mean, the problem is that some of this was done with a traditional quill pen, so they could be somebody doodling, they could be somebody tamping ink off of the quill to get a thinner bead.
Okay. Have I seen the Traveler referenced anywhere else?
No, it sticks out to you because you haven't. Although, you could go back over your father's notes again and see if maybe now that you have a keyword for.
Well, actually, I was thinking in the people of the monolith because I had that dream, forever ago,
Mm-hmm.
where I met or where I saw it was like the wasteland and the tower crumbling and stuff.
Indeed.
And that seemed very reminiscent of people of the monolith, correct?
Yeah, a little bit.
So I may see if there's a reference to the Traveler in People of the Monolith.
Okay. So what I will have you do is make a Cthulhu Mythos roll with the People of the Monolith as your modifier.
60 out of 34 is...
So you pour back over People of the Monolith again, just trying to look for specific call-outs for the Traveler or a Traveler. It does feel like there was something there in that broken tower. You remember the two figures coming at the end. That's a very sharp part of your memory. When they pulled a child from corpse of a horse. But you can't seem to fit the Traveler into anything either that the monolith text shows or the dream had for you.
Then the only other one that I want to check is the Noctic manuscripts.
Yes. Everyone's favorite, the Noctic manuscripts.
Yes.
Okay. What would you like to check for? The same sort of Traveler?
Yeah. Or like transmutation from one realm to another, kind of. And I do not have the Mythos modifier for that one.
I'm looking it up.
Cool.
You do notice at some point during the day, probably late evening, that the hotel room is mostly quiet. And even as you're eventually getting up and you're getting dinner because, well, you need dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Lillian's not here either. No, you think you hear Sigmund, or maybe you smell his pipe in the other room.
So you want me to roll for the Noctic then?
I do.
I made it by 2.
Yeah, appears to be a pass. Okay. So the Noctic manuscripts specifically deal a lot with the before times. So this has got a lot of information on civilizations before times, right? So this is where you heard about Hyperborea, you hear about Atlantis in this. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of what almost seems to be just unearthly places mentioned. And so one of the things that does get mentioned in here is an elder from a very remote village. And that elder was known to, this is an elder from ancient times, was able to transverse and travel in many distant lands, sometimes at the same time. So there is a story here from the Hyperborean times that state that this, they say, traveler here was able to speak with traders and kings in multiple kingdoms at the same time. It's really the only note of that even comes close to being a traveler. Hard to know whether or not it's correlative to what you're looking for, but it is a reference to it.
Now, does it say what this particular village, like what the elder quote unquote, like religion, what their belief system was, anything like that? Who they at that time looked up to?
Well, it does seem to have some Mesoamerican touch points here. It definitely talks about places that you would associate with South America. There's a figure, evidently, who is said to have come from the sea just after the creation of man, and that may be this traveler. And he is said to have recounted the word of the gods and the true history of creation.
Okay. Well, I suppose it's something. I may have to just get different books.
But you do pick up on an interesting match symbol. And that symbol is a somewhat crudely drawn symbol in the shape of a pentagon that's in this book that's very similar to the shape that's on the outside of the people of the monolith. The symbols are very close to the same.
Well, then I'll probably have to go back to People of the Monolith and look more carefully.
Well, it does seem to be some sort of warding symbol. You probably have to read it a little bit more closely. But yeah, there's something there.
Well, then I will study that symbol and see where that leads me. Of course, that means I'll forget all the other things I wanted to study for the day, but, that's how these things go.
That's how the rabbit holes go.
Yes.
All right. So to the museum, gentlemen, I use that term lightly, of course, as you are officially breaking and entering.
But we're gentle about it.
Yes.
Yes. You're gentle enterers. I don't know that we want to go down that road, but so you are in the foyer, or the landing zone, so to speak, with the museum front doors. They're now shut behind you. You've gotten a bit of a read on this area, say in maybe your 10 to 12 foot radius. You know that to your left, if you go directly left, you will enter a portion of the museum. And you're not really sure terribly what's to the right because it is fairly dark. There are no other lanterns or lights in here.
Yeah, I was assuming you were just getting any light that happened to be coming in from outside.
Yeah, I mean, even in the dim light that comes in from street lights outside, it does look like there is some sort of desk, like some sort of front desk, or maybe a but there is a table, and it looks like there are some periodicals down there.
I see. Well, you did say that you wanted to peruse the local culture. I'll gesture to the pamphlets and start walking to the left hallway.
I will go to the desk.
So point of order. Sorry, desk is to the right, probably 30 or 40 feet down the hallway to the right. The hallway which leads into the museum portion, it seems, is about 15 or so feet to the left.
Yeah, I'll hang out at the corner and wait for him to do whatever he's doing.
Yep, I will very quickly go down to the desk. Is it in a hallway or is it a big entryway?
It's more in a more open portion of this area. So if you go, it more looks like someone would come into the museum. They would go directly right. They would head down to this desk area where there are, books and papers that would be available for people visiting the museum. It's kind of like the visitors' welcoming area.
Right.
And then you imagine that once you got down there, you would go deeper into the museum that way.
Okay. I will use the torch on the desk, but cup the light to keep people from seeing it from the side.
All right, why don't you make me a listen roll?
Success, 29 under 35.
So to your left, directly deeper into the museum, you hear something, and it sounds like wood creaking.
I go back the way I came.
Okay.
Exactly the way I came, and I make a gesture to Simone that there's something that way.
I'll probably get pretty wide-eyed. So I'm feeling kind of exposed on this corner. So he's pointing away from us, right? Like he's pointing down the right side of the...
Yeah.
He's pointing the way he came.
Okay. I will kind of tug him along to the left where we were headed.
Yep.
And I'll kind of push him in front of me a bit. And I'm going to stop and listen very closely to what is going on down there.
Okay, you haven't entered the museum area to the left, yes? You have not?
Well, no, not yet. I stopped at the corner and waited for him. So
I got you.
When he came back, as soon as he gets back and he's frantically gesturing, I kind of push him ahead of me to the left. Yeah. And I'm listening for what's going on the other side. Yeah.
Make me a listen roll.
Success, 36 out of 63.
You don't hear anything.
Okay. Once he's a fair distance ahead and I still don't hear anything, I will follow.
This section of the museum seems to be relatively open. It's a long rectangular shape, and on the walls here there are various sundry Egyptian artifacts. Anything from pottery to baskets. There are even a few agricultural tools, There are some quite definitive pieces of antiquity, so plates. You see a couple of bronze or brass jars, at least in the, say, 20 or 25 feet or so of relative light that you have.
How are most of these things displayed?
They're put up against the wall. Some of them are on shelves. Some of them are on pedestals.
Okay.
I can give it a try. Could I make an archaeology roll to know how they arrange things?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Hard success, 12 under 24.
Very nice. It's clear here that the way the Petrie Museum has laid these out, you're in the latest part of the museum. And that's really when your brain wraps around the museum footprint without seeing the rest of the building, Lawrence. You know that if you continue to walk back towards the back of the building, you're going to walk back in time. Because naturally, one would have entered the museum through the doors, gone to the right, gone to the visitor area, started, and then this is the end of the museum.
Right.
So you're kind of working backwards in time.
I will lean over to Simone and ask if he has any details on this mask.
Jack described it as a death mask? I forgot how big he said it was. It's like the size of that sarcophagus mask, right?
Yeah, it is, but just imagine it only for the head up.
Just
like
the head
and
yeah,
shoulders
just
up.
the headpiece. Okay.
Did he say anything about hold?
I'm guessing it is older than this stuff.
I will really quickly point out that the further back we go, the older the items will get.
I'm certain we will not have trouble finding it. We should keep moving. I did not hear anything coming from the other side.
I heard something over there.
I believe you. Whatever it was, it is not following us.
You hear a male voice far in the distance. Somebody there? Hello?
Perhaps not. Which way did that come from?
That's way deeper into the museum.
Oh, like the way that we were headed?
Yeah. And then you hear a sudden and swift whack. And you hear a male voice cry out in pain.
We are not alone.
And then another whack. You hear a woman's voice high on the air. Oh my gosh!
So at that, I would like to... I'll open my coat and let my hand kind of slide to the holster. I'm going to run toward the danger. Not sprinting. I mean, I'm going to move pretty quickly. But I still want to stay low and utilize the cover that I have. But it sounds like somebody's murdering staff. That's what I'm hearing. Or at least waylaying them. So I'll shoot Lawrence, I guess, a cautionary glare, and then shrug, and I move.
Okay.
I will follow behind.
Mm-hmm. So you guys head straight down through the museum, straight back in time, paying little attention to the artifacts as you pass them. Your hearing and your general perceptions bring you towards a turn that you must make, which is to the right. You go through an archway, and you end up at the back end of the museum. And it's at that point, I'm going to ask for spot hidden rolls from both of you.
It's a hard success, 13 out of 55.
That is a failure. 72 over 57.
Simone, you notice that across from where you are to the left, so about hard left, but maybe slight left, there is a door that is cracked open. There's light coming in from it. And there's a sign on the wall that says staff only.
Do I think that the sound could have come from back there?
I mean, it's possible.
You said we heard a person and then there was yelling, right?
Yep.
And I haven't heard any other sounds since then?
Yeah, when you guys arrive here, you start hearing crashing. It sounds like things are breaking in the back of the museum.
And the door is cracked, you said?
It is.
Well, let's take a peek. I will slow down long enough to look inside.
At the back end of this museum, you see that there is a landing portion for deliveries. The door to your right, as you guys are looking through this, as you're looking through this area, is wide open. And you can see that there is a man laying down in the doorway here. His head has been split wide open. And he is bleeding and twitching on the floor. His eyes are wide open. and there's not a conscious moment of thought happening in his brain.
Okay.
Noises coming from deeper within that room that would tell you that there's more than one person here.
And I don't see what caused this. I just hear that there's crashing back there.
Yeah, it's continuing on. You hear a woman scream again.
Okay. Does Lawrence have his gun out?
Lawrence did not have his gun out, but
Okay. I will
Lawrence now
draw I will draw my firearm to indicate that it's time for Lawrence to pull his gun out. Yeah, I have these two. Should see what these people are up to. Let's pull a man. I will gingerly step over him and move into the space.
So you gingerly step over him and move into the space. The space is a little larger than you were prepared for. The lights are on in here, though. And when you step into this space, there are 3 gentlemen here. And they are wielding clubs. And the clubs themselves seem to be wrapped with a very specific type of red leather handle. It stands out against the black, almost ashen wood. But what stands out for sure are the nails that are driven into the end of these clubs. And they seem to be spilling out contents of crates in this room. And so now what we'll do is we'll dip into rounds.
Okay.
Simone, you hold the highest initiative. It's 75.
Where is the woman that was screaming?
She is not present in this room visually. There is another right you could make. There's a door about halfway down this room on the right-hand side that's open.
Have they seen us?
It appears they have.
Okay. And they are carrying spiked clubs.
You bet.
Oh, man. All right. I will... Forsyth is still flanking me.
He's right next to you, yeah?
Yeah. I will turn to Forsyth. And I will say, find out where they took that woman. And I'll, gesture toward the door. And in order to draw the ire of these 3 gentlemen, I will point my shotgun at them.
Okay.
And see how they react.
One of the gentlemen pitches a plate at you.
Nice.
You may dodge, of course.
I will do my absolute best.
You may need to.
53 out of 75.
So, let's see here. So that is a hard success for him. The plate only deals 1 damage, but it gets thrown at you.
Nice.
With some zip. And it whistles through the air when he throws it at you. It mostly is broken by your shoulder, but it's fairly clear he means business.
So their response to me pointing the shotgun was to throw a plate at me. It hit me, basically. How loud are these guys being? I forgot to ask that. How loud is what they're doing?
They're being pretty loud.
Okay. I'm assuming gunfire would still be really, really much louder.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not going to shoot anyone yet. I'm going to shake off the plate and say, I would suggest you drop your weapons now if you want to leave this place in one piece. And I will attempt to scare them.
Ooh.
Or at least maybe spook them. That's intimidate, right?
It is.
I'll sneer and fail miserably.
Yes, I see that. You sneer, for sure. And maybe it's the language barrier? You're not sure? Maybe you're way more scarier in the head than you thought. But they don't appear to flinch much.
All right.
And to that end, 2 of them move closer, and they are going to engage in direct melee range. This will also cut Lawrence off from being able to get to that door. At least unless he wants to dance carefully around one. So, they are going to get themselves in front of you, shotgun and all. They're going to try to beat you about the head, neck, and shoulders. So you do have the ability to dodge that attack as well, if you'd like, the first one.
Can't I use Brawl to parry?
So yeah, so the way I do it is, if you'd like to parry with the shotgun, you can. You did dodge already this round, so you'll take a disadvantage to the roll, but you could still do it.
Okay. Otherwise, what are my options? Dodge?
Otherwise, dodge, yeah.
Okay. Then I suppose I will dodge with a 56 out of 75.
Okay. You dodge out of the way of the first strike, and the second one was coming way too high already.
Okay.
So that is that. And that means that, Lawrence, it's your action.
I shoot one.
All right, Lawrence.
Man.
I shoot one many times.
Well, okay, let's deal with the first. Oh man.
Extreme success, 4 under 60.
Okay. So what's the damage of the weapon?
D10.
Automatically doubled, so it's 20 points of damage. The first one that comes in on you, Simone, that you had to duck to get out of the way, he's overextended himself, and Lawrence simply takes a single step forward, aims left, and covers you in this man's head. It pineapples all over you. How many shots around do you get with that, sir?
I can do up to 3.
There will be a penalty for the second shot, but you're more than willing to take it, and you may feel pretty good after that first one.
I'm going to attempt to intimidate them now.
What? How? In what way?
Next one gets it if anyone moves. Nope, 90 over 30. Jesus,
Well,
that's terrible.
It's not a critical failure, but these men must be zealots.
Yep.
There is a snapping sound that comes from the other room. It's particularly skin crawling. The voice of that woman cries out again, although it's choked off. And so that'll bring it around to Simone.
I will kind of spit this dude's brain out of my mouth, look up at Lawrence. I said, get the woman. And then I shoot the other one that's in front of me.
Okay.
Both barrels with an extreme success.
Okay, so
And a
that's
success.
So the first one is an impale. Likely the second one is not even necessary. So what's the damage on the shotgun?
I'm looking at Lawrence while I'm doing this, by the way.
Okay.
Well, it's in melee range, right? So it's 46.
Right. So that man is no longer with us. And I suppose, I don't know that Simone wants it, but I mean, if you want the intimidated roll against Lawrence, you could have it.
No, I'm letting my action speak for me.
Okay.
I will take the rest of my action to stand up and wipe my face off. There's with a good long one on the sleeve. Like, get it off. And hopefully Lawrence is moving.
Lawrence is moving.
Well, he would
when he
be,
gets the chance.
except that there is a zealot at the back of the room that has collected himself,
There's a third one.
and he has pulled his own pistol, and he is firing. The scariest person in the room, which is clearly Lawrence at this time. Ooh. That's a 14, sir. This man seems to pull the pistol almost in a freakish self-defense at the two juggernauts that have walked into the room, and he wings you in the right shoulder with what looks like a 38, and then he pulls the trigger again and misses terribly. And it is now your action, sir.
I run to the
Merci.
to the right.
You going through the doorway?
Yep. Full tilt through the doorway.
You batter down through that doorway, and you come upon an amazingly shocking scene. Two very large men have what you can only imagine is some sort of museum curator. They have both of her arms stretched back behind her. There is a third man who has seemingly stood in front of this woman, and with what is a still wet, dripping knife, they have removed her tongue, and a fountain of blood has erupted from her throat.
I shoot him.
Well, the first thing you need to do
Mm-hmm.
is you need to make me a sanity roll.
Yep. Hard success, 9 under 40. Thank you.
These ugly and brutal thugs must not be allowed to stand.
They will not.
Okay, so carry on with your action.
I shoot many times. I will spend 15 luck to make that a 60.
All right, roll damage, please. And out of the three men, which one are you shooting first?
The one with the knife.
One with the knife and the tongue still in his hand.
1.
Okay. You shoot him, that's for sure.
Second shot?
Yep.
I have to roll twice, right? Because it's at disadvantage?
You do. It is at disadvantage.
I will spend 11 more luck.
Get him loaded, Larry.
Roll more damage. 3.
Okay.
And I will shoot the third time. Success, 57 over 60. Hard success, 27 over 60. So another success.
It's just a standard success, but yeah. Damage it.
2.
Is that a revolver by chance?
That is a revolver.
Okay, so you've got a bullet left.
I have 2.
2 left, yeah.
Yep.
So Simone, for your perspective, the bull in the china shop exits stage right, and just a hail of gunfire starts.
But it's all his gun.
Yes.
Okay.
You are left, of course, with a shaky ne'er-do-well across the room from you, who has turned and is aiming his pistol at you.
Distance between us?
Oh, probably 20 feet.
Okay. I mean, if it's a gunfight this dude wants, I'm kind of okay. Is there any cover between him and I?
Oh, tons. I mean, there are crates and boxes and tables and all things.
I will let him see me reload my shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
And then I will roll to cover.
Okay.
And now whistle.
The box you're currently behind gets shot.
You know you can't just leave.
You have cover, sir, so we will take that into account as it becomes necessary. Lawrence, the woman that's back here is likely not going to make it. While you don't have a ton of time to do a first aid assessment, the large gaping wound at her neck and the volume of blood that's coming from her mouth, it does not look well.
No.
But these cultists, though, they are going to fight back against the Brahma bull that's here now, and they're going to set upon you in a bunch of melee attacks. So if you would like to dodge, you can. You'll get the first one for free, and the second one and third one will cost you disadvantages.
Sure.
Successive disadvantages.
Right. Assuming they can successfully make attacks.
Correct. The first one has already.
Okay. So...
Go ahead. Tell the customers what they get.
That's a 98 over 27.
That's a critical failure. So, would you like to roll with disadvantage on the second?
Sure, why not?
Okay.
Nope. 54 over 27 is the best I can do.
Okay, so that's just a simple failure. The third one misses you. But that first one is what hurts. And it's not a club. It's the man with the knife.
Yep.
And he comes in with this Arkansas toothpick sized knife. He plunges it into your stomach for 8 damage.
Oh, jeez.
And you feel when he pulls it back out, you feel something hot and intense in your rib cage rattle.
So at this point, considering that was half my available hit points, do I click the major wound check mark?
You sure do, sir.
Okay.
You also, let me see here.
What does that sound like?
It sounds sticky and ugly in the next room.
Since I didn't really burn the rest of my action, can I do anything else?
You've moved a bit. I wouldn't say you've made all of your movement rate, but yeah, I mean, if you'd like to stand up and fire, you could. If you'd like to, take some sort of physical side of the action, you're welcome to.
Well, I feel like Lawrence needs assistance at this point, so I need to end this standoff.
Yep.
So I'll let him fire off a couple more rounds, and then I will line up a shot and take it.
Go ahead and do that. And while you're doing that, I'd like Lawrence to make me a con roll.
That is an extreme success. 4 out of 7.
Jesus, that's 3 extreme successes in this firefight alone. So you stand up and line up and send the man to meet his maker. In an almost comical fashion, He'd gotten a little too close, and the force of the shotgun blasts him over a table. Lawrence, you steady yourself as best you can in the moment. You feel your perception of the day wane, and the shadows around you grow longer.
But I rolled a 56 under 80, which means I'm still moving.
You are absolutely still moving. So you're still on 75, so you're still first.
Yeah. So I will reload that barrel as I'm moving toward the office that Forsyth ran into.
Yep.
And I want to assess the situation from either, like, if he moved into the room. I'm not really sure where he's standing at this point.
So you can see him as you get closer to the doorway. You can see as you're reloading and keeping your eyes up on the situation, you can see that he's faced off between 3 thugs, and the back of his workman's jacket is now bloody.
Is he in the room?
Yeah, he's in the room.
Okay. So is his back to the doorway?
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to try to brace myself against, like, the right side of the doorway, and I'm going to use my left hand to try to pull him outside. Like, I'm going to try to yank him away from them.
So you're going to, like, pull him back?
Yeah, I'm trying to pull him back to the wall that I'm at. If I can. I'm trying to just yank him out of the room because I want to force these guys through this doorway.
So I would say make a brawl roll.
Sure.
To pull him back. And then given the fact that you're engaged with other melee combatants, you're probably going to be a bit surprised by this, Lawrence.
Yep.
Yoink, that's a failure. I'm going to push that because the blood on him is far too alarming, and I have the weapon that can handle this room. So
as we say in the keeper circle, push the roll.
With 39 out of 70.
All right. Lawrence, you get pulled back. Suddenly you are propelled backward by something. And basically what happens is that you don't effectively switch spots, Simone, but you take up the doorway now, and Lawrence is
I swing to the side, like against the wall.
like careening behind you, trying to grab for something to be stable.
And if I can follow it up, I will take a shot at disadvantage if I need to.
You've already gotten one physical action this turn.
And otherwise, I'll wait.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that they're gonna get a chance to react to that happening.
Understood. Surprise.
Yep. And so, a guy with a big knife comes at you.
Okay, customer.
Given that it's a doorway, there's only one of them that can get to you, and he swings and misses. But that knife is as big as a machete.
That's not a knife.
It's also already covered in blood, and the scene behind them is grisly.
But it's not moving.
It doesn't appear to be, no. And actually, from your vantage point, you see that there are 2 other men who now have their backs to you in that room, and they are hustling out another door.
So the guy with the knife headed off the doorway, and the other 2 are trying to move away?
Yeah. The other 2 are, you would almost say, fleeing?
Fleeing, right. Okay. I think it's Lawrence's action, right?
It is.
I will get a little low.
Okay.
Well, it's a fortunate thing that I have the pulp talent known as beady eye.
Look,
and
a pulp talent.
And I have 2 rounds in my gun.
You do?
And both of them need to go into this guy.
Okay.
Well, the first one's a 56 under 60,
Sure.
I mean. And the second one is a failure.
Okay, so roll damage.
9.
Okay. Yeah, you drop him like a bad habit. He falls backward. You duck, Simone.
Revenge is sweet.
And then all of a sudden, Lawrence, you are overcome by pain.
Yep, I just slumped down.
I'll leave you 2 there for a moment. Miss O'Shea, the summation of your studies return you back to the etchings again. For some reason, I don't know, whether it's a innate itch you've got or something, you can't seem to let these rubbings go. You keep thinking about this knife on the ship. And you keep correlating from what you've seen in Swift's journal. And it seems that Jonathan Swift in this journal kind of alludes to these glyphs being a language unto themselves. And he even seems to have figured out how to enunciate some of them. But he doesn't have it all worked out.
Okay. So maybe I could figure out a way to decipher the language?
It's possible. I mean, there has to be something more to it. Swift wrote in it, and then somehow you've come upon some very similar glyphs thousands of miles away.
Right.
If you'd like to attempt to begin that deciphering, you'll need to use Swift's tome to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So you should have the record of its stats. Oh, and you could use quick study for this too.
Mm-hmm. Which that just gives me an extra die, right?
Yep. Quick study. Well, it halves all the time for full reading of an initial and full reading of mythosomes. And what I will do is, given that you're kind of delving into a different area of this tome, I'll apply it to the ability to pick this up. Plus, you have the linguist talent as well, so
Yes.
you can determine what language is being spoken or what is written, and you gain a bonus die to it. Yeah, so you'll have both of your pulp talents on this roll. It's a mythos roll. Tome gives you 6%. So roll with advantage for the linguistics portion of it.
Okay, so I got a 15.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a flat success already.
Okay.
So you can roll with advantage if you want to see if you get a hard success or not. And you basically need a 14.
No.
So no. Okay, yeah. So a couple of things that you glean from this. You have the basic underpinnings of what you think a couple of the consonants and a couple of the vowel sounds are. You would need more text in this language to get a better understanding of what Aklo is, this tongue that they speak.
Okay.
But you think you might be able to craft some sounds based
And
off the
then,
knowledge
like,
you have?
are they different ones from the one that Swift got? So then I have, like, I can add to it?
Yes. So back to the museum, Lawrence, you find your feet, as I assume that you and Simone are not going to just stick around.
Well, so you said that the other two fled, right?
Yes.
Okay.
They fled the room.
Not the way that we were. They went through a different door?
No, they headed back towards the front of the museum.
Okay. So because the first thing I'll do is see if there's anything resembling, like, I don't know if there's first aid supplies in an office, but
You don't see any.
if I don't see like a red box,
Simone, you have to go.
uh,
Take my tool bag and go.
we are both going to have to exit.
I can't go. I have a small problem. And then I sit back down. Just go. Take my tool bag and go.
Calm down. I'm gonna kneel down next to Forsyth and check the wound.
It's not great.
Okay,
He needs medical attention.
sure. I will attempt to bind it, at least,
Okay.
with what we have available. So, rig something.
Well, there's more than enough, old textiles around here you could probably grab, or
Yeah, a roll of something, packing material, something to like tie it off with. I don't know, rope, tourniquet.
sure.
Where is it? Where did he get stabbed?
He got stabbed in the gut.
Oh, so I just have to. Oh, there's gonna be a whole lot of padding then. So yeah, I'll find some stuff to create like a suitable towel with.
Sure. The more concerning part for you is the fact that he's bleeding on his back.
Oh, it went through.
It went through.
Okay. Do I know where the nearest like hospital is?
Yeah. I mean, you would know.
Yeah. Where? How far is it?
It's not terribly far. You could probably get to a hospital or a...
No. Take my bag.
Lawrence, get on your feet.
Call
Get.
The
I slap.
police.
I slap Lawrence. Get on your feet now. We are going to walk to the hospital. You're going to tell them that you were in a work accident in your work clothes with your work bag. And I'm going to shove it against his chest. Now hold on. And we will go there after we get the mask out of this place.
So you're going to search for the mask?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not too terrible hard to find. It's actually in a portion of the museum that you were in earlier.
That we ran through.
It's just along the wall. Yep. And you see it.
How hard is it to secure?
You'll need a bag for it. It's heavy, but
okay.
it's
have
beautiful.
a bag.
Yeah. Then we will put it in the bag. And I will basically help half carry Forsyth.
I will hand him my gun first.
To the hospital. I have an empty holster for it, so we're good.
Might not be a bad idea. These are my work tools.
Because so far it just looks like he was impaled.
It does. So your mind already springs forth several potential possibilities, the way of explaining it.
I would recommend that you tell them that you fell into a pit of scrap metal and you're surprised you got here alive. I'll get within, basically where I can see him get there.
Okay.
But I definitely don't want to be visible.
You escort him most of the way to the hospital, Lawrence. The hospital workers take you in as soon as they see you, and that is as good a time as any to call this episode. So I hope you've enjoyed our cultural night at the museum, at the Petrie Museum. I'm sure that some of the listeners enjoyed some of that, if not all of it. But yeah, I thank you so much for being here, and I can't wait to see what happens next week.
Me and Simon had an intimate moment, and I spilled my guts.
Nice.
In a manner of speaking. Good night, everybody.